"If you don't want to go to a nursing home, get a job." That's what my son told me, just like that, with such coldness, without even blinking. I looked at him and smiled. But it wasn't a happy smile. It was the kind of smile you have just before you die inside, or before you're reborn with rage. I stood up slowly, without saying a word. I went to my room. I picked up my small blue suitcase, the same one I used when I left the house where I raised that man, and I began to pack the little I had left: clothes, a couple of books, an album with old photos, and a letter. An hour later, the silence was broken by the roar of a powerful engine. A luxury car, black and gleaming, stopped in front of the gate. From the window, I saw Jessica, my daughter-in-law, peer out with a frown. Liam walked up to the fence and said aloud, "What the hell is that car doing here?" I didn't answer. I just grabbed the suitcase. I closed the door to the little room I lived in and walked out with my head held high. But to understand how we got to that point, you have to go back with me, many years ago, to a time when I wasn't a burden, but a mother capable of anything for her son. Liam was my only child. His father, Arthur, died when he was just 3 years old, a car accident on a wet highway. The police told me it was instant. It didn't feel that way to me. It took me more than 10 years to breathe again without pain. From that moment on, my entire life revolved around Liam. I worked as a teacher in a public school, gave private lessons in the afternoon, and on weekends, I sold used books at the community flea market, all so that he would never lack for anything. And he didn't. I sent him to good schools, helped him with his homework. I stayed up late sewing costumes for his school plays. I sold my engagement ring to pay for a coding camp when he was 12 years old. I taught him to be responsible, respectful, to say thank you and please. I taught him to love books, to stand up for those who didn't have a voice. I thought I was shaping him into a noble man. I didn't know I was raising my own executioner. Liam was a sweet child. When he was little, he would write me letters on notebook paper. "Mom, when I grow up, I'm going to buy you a house with a garden. You'll have a hammock and lots of cats." I would cry reading them. I thought, all this effort is worth it. My son is going to be a good man. But time passes, and with it, promises fade. The first crack appeared when Liam met Jessica. He was 24, worked at a bank, and was very ambitious. Too ambitious. He brought her home one Sunday to introduce her. I remember that day as if it were yesterday. "Mom, this is Jessica," he said with a proud smile. "My girlfriend." She looked me up and down. She was wearing huge, dark sunglasses, as if she were on a red carpet. "Hello," she said without smiling. "A pleasure." Her handshake was as cold as her gaze. That day, I knew something was going to change. And it did. After they got married, Liam started visiting me less. He no longer came for Sunday lunch. He told me he had too much work. When he did call, it was for practical things. "Do you have my birth certificate? Where did you put my high school transcripts?" One day, I was offered early retirement. My health was fragile, and I felt it was time to rest. I told him the news with excitement. Liam barely looked up from his phone. "Well, I mean, if you feel good about it." There was no congratulations or thanks for everything, just indifference. But the worst was yet to come. When Ava was born, I knew she would be my last refuge. My granddaughter was a ray of sunshine in so much darkness. At first, Jessica didn't want me to watch her. "I'd prefer she be with someone young," she'd say. Besides, Caroline isn't used to modern babies. Modern babies, as if they were appliances. But over time, they agreed to let me watch her a few afternoons a week. Those were the best moments of my week. I told her stories. We played hide and seek. I taught her how to write her name in cursive. "Grandma, why do you live in such a tiny little house?" she asked me once. "Because it's just right, my love. I don't want to bother anyone." "But you don't bother anyone." "I like being with you." That sentence was etched into my soul. My relationship with Jessica deteriorated. She started to avoid me, to speak to me in ironic whispers. "Caroline, can you not leave your things lying around in the laundry room?" "Caroline, close the back door. It's letting in a draft. Do you have to make noise right now?" It was my house, or at least it had been. They had remodeled it, but the land was mine. Still, I felt like an intruder, like a presence that made them uncomfortable. When I tried to talk to Liam about it, he just said, "Jessica is very sensitive and sometimes, you don't help." It was the first time I felt completely alone. One day, Liam called me into the main living room. I had just finished washing Ava's clothes. My hands were damp. "Mom, we need to talk." I sat on the edge of the sofa. Jessica was standing next to him, arms crossed. "This isn't working anymore," he said. "We're tight on expenses. We can't support another person." "Another person?" I asked. "I'm your mother, Liam." "I know. But you're an adult, and you can make your own decisions. If you don't want to go to a nursing home, you're going to have to get a job." I felt a lump in my throat. Not because of the suggestion, but because of the way he said it, the total lack of affection, of memory, of gratitude. "It's not fair," I said in a low voice. "Life's not fair, Mom," Jessica replied. "Welcome to the club." Liam stood up. "We've talked about it. Take your time, but we can't go on like this." I sat there, listening to the wall clock. Tick, tock, tick, tock. And I knew that something inside me had just broken. What they didn't know was that I wasn't as alone as they thought. Months earlier, I had received a letter that changed my life. It was from Vincent, a love from my youth I had never forgotten. He found me through an old friend. He wrote to me with such tenderness, asking if I still thought of him. And yes, I did, more than I should have. We started talking on the phone, then video calls. He lived out on the West Coast, had land, vineyards, and had been a widower for 6 years. "I never stopped loving you, Caroline," he told me one night. "And if you'll let me, I want to see you again." That sentence was like a hand reaching out to me in the middle of an abyss. When Liam told me I had to get a job, I had already made my decision. I wasn't going to beg, I wasn't going to scream, I wasn't going to make a scene. I just smiled. I went to my room. I opened the suitcase. I packed my things. I looked at myself in the mirror. I had wrinkles, yes, more gray hair than brown. But I also had something I had lost years ago. Courage. And then it happened. The roar of the car, Liam and Jessica's footsteps approaching the window, the honk, a tense silence, a quick glance from Ava, who came running from the kitchen. "Grandma, did that car come for you?" I knelt down. I hugged her tight. I whispered in her ear, "Never let anyone tell you how much you're worth, not even your own blood." I stood up, and I walked towards the front door. I walked to the door without looking back. Liam was standing by the gate, frowning. Jessica had her arms crossed, her lips pursed as if she'd bitten into a lemon. Ava watched me from the hallway, with her big, honey-colored eyes. I didn't say anything. I didn't have to. They didn't deserve my words. I pushed open the iron gate and felt the cold wind hit my face. The car was there, a black Mercedes-Benz, shining like the night. The engine was still running, as if it knew I wasn't going to change my mind. The back door opened, and there he was, Vincent. "Good afternoon, Caroline," he said, getting out elegantly. "I was waiting for you." I saw Jessica's frown deepen, as if she couldn't understand what was happening. Liam took a step forward. "Who is this guy?" he asked, raising his voice. Vincent extended his hand to me. I took it. "Vincent Rivas," he replied without looking at my son. "I'm a friend of your mother's, and I came to get her. She has nothing left to do here." The word mother seemed to hit Liam like a slap. He blinked, as if trying to process what he was seeing. And then he spoke to me. "What are you doing? You're leaving with a stranger? Just like that?" I looked at him, and there, for the first time, I spoke. "I'm not leaving with a stranger. I'm leaving with someone who sees me, who listens to me, who values me, something you stopped doing a long time ago." Jessica let out a sarcastic laugh. "My God, this is like a soap opera. Are you seriously running off with some rich old man?" Vincent smiled politely, but his eyes were ice-cold firm. "Ma'am, you started the soap opera when you decided to treat this woman like she was trash. Today is just the end of the first act. Get ready for what's coming." He helped me into the car. I closed the door, and from the window, I saw Ava running towards the gate. "Grandma, wait!" Vincent stopped the car before pulling away. I rolled down the window. Ava reached into her pocket and handed me a folded piece of paper. "It's a drawing. For you." I took the paper, clutched it, and whispered, "Never change, my love. You're the one with a heart." The car pulled away, and I didn't look back. The first few blocks were silent. I watched the streets that had seen me haul grocery bags, enter through the back door as if I were an employee, and swallow insults for not bringing in an income. Every tree, every lamppost was a witness to my silence. And now, they would also be witnesses to my departure. Vincent drove smoothly, as if he had all the time in the world. "Are you okay?" he asked without taking his eyes off the road. I nodded, though I wasn't sure if it was true. I don't know if I'm okay, but I'm awake, and that's already a miracle. He smiled. He took my hand gently. "Do you want to go straight home, or do you want to get something to drink first?" "You have time?" "I have a lifetime." I laughed. After so long, I laughed for real. And then I knew it. I was no longer the woman who walked with her head down. I was someone else. Or rather, I was becoming who I used to be, before the fear. We went to a diner off the highway, small and warm, with huge windows and the smell of freshly baked bread. We sat by the window. Vincent ordered 2 lattes and a couple of croissants. "Do you remember the first time we went to a place like this?" he asked. "Of course, I ordered tea with lemon, and you said that wasn't something happy people drank." He laughed, and you answered, "Then I'm a proud, unhappy person." We both laughed. But then silence returned. Vincent looked me in the eyes. "Caroline, they hurt you a lot, didn't they?" I swallowed hard. I felt something break inside. I don't know if it was hurt or just abandonment. It was years of little things. Glances, comments, closed doors, favors that became debts. I was fading, Vincent, like a candle burning out without anyone noticing. "I noticed," he said, and in that moment, I burst into tears. I cried for everything I had kept silent, for every Sunday I ate alone, for every time I pretended not to hear Jessica call me a burden, for every hug Ava wanted to give me that her mother stopped, for every promise Liam forgot. Vincent said nothing. He just held my hand, and I understood then that sometimes silence doesn't hurt. Sometimes it heals. Hours later, we arrived at his house. And when I say house, I don't mean an ostentatious mansion with marble columns. It was a sprawling, rustic country house, surrounded by vineyards that shimmered under the afternoon sunday. It had a porch with hammocks, enormous windows, and a library that looked like something out of a dream. "This is your room," he said, opening a door. It was warm, with white linens and a hand-woven rug. On the nightstand was a bouquet of lilacs. "Lilacs?" I asked. "Your favorite, right?" Vincent replied. I didn't know what to say. I just caressed the petals. "You deserve this, Caroline. You deserve everything they denied you." That night we had dinner together, a hot soup, homemade bread, and a red wine that Vincent had produced in his own winery. We talked about books, old movies, our youth. And at one point, he looked at me seriously. "You know what hurt me the most? That you never looked for me. 40 years went by, and I never heard from you." I was scared, I admitted. And then life just happened. I dedicated myself so much to others that I forgot about myself. He nodded. "But you're here now. And I promise you, as long as I have breath in my body, no one will ever make you feel invisible again." The following days were a balm for my soul. For the first time in decades, no one yelled at me. No one corrected me on how I hung the laundry, for leaving a light on, for reading too late. I was free. And in that freedom, I began to remember who I was. I started writing again. Little stories, poems, random thoughts. Vincent encouraged me. He read my work. He asked me questions. Sometimes he'd wake me up with coffee in bed, other times with wildflowers. But, like everything in life, the past doesn't always stay behind. One afternoon, while I was reading on the porch, my cell phone vibrated. It was an unknown number. "Hello?" Silence. Then a voice I recognized instantly. "Mom, it's me, Liam." I froze. "What do you want?" "Can we talk, please? I don't know if I have anything to say to you." "Please, it's important." I sighed. Something in his tone unsettled me. It wasn't arrogant, it sounded vulnerable. Tell me. Jessica left. She left me. She said she couldn't stand all of this, that I'm not man enough, and she left me the house. And Ava. I had to sit down. The world seemed to be spinning. And what does that have to do with me? I don't know what to do. Ava cries all day. She asks for you. I can't handle it all, I feel lost. There was a long pause. I could hear him breathing. I need you, Mom. I stayed quiet. I had waited to hear that sentence for years. But now, it didn't hurt anymore. It was just a rusty chain trying to shackle me again. And then I said, I needed you too, Liam. For years, and you weren't there. I know. I screwed up. I was an idiot. Don't tell me. Show me. Because if you want me to come back, it won't be to that little room. Or to your contempt. Liam sobbed. I hadn't heard him cry since he was 6 years old. Can I come see you? I thought for a moment, and I said what I never thought I would say. Yes, but don't come alone. Who do you want me to bring? Ava. She has a right to see me. You're going to have to earn it. The morning sun lit up the vineyards, but my heart was torn between calm and anxiety. I had agreed to see Liam, not because I trusted him, but because my granddaughter, Ava, deserved to know that I hadn't abandoned her. Vincent watched me from the porch as he drank his coffee. Are you sure you want to see them? I nodded, though I was trembling inside. Not for him. For her. Vincent put down his cup, walked over, and caressed my cheek. Whatever happens, I'll be right here. You're not alone, Caroline. Not anymore. I took a deep breath, and so I waited. At 11:30, the same family station wagon that had so often seen me keep quiet pulled through the wooden gate. Liam got out first. He was no longer the arrogant, haughty man from weeks ago. The dark circles under his eyes betrayed sleepless nights, and his wrinkled shirt seemed to hang off his body. Ava got out next. She ran towards me without a second thought. Grandma! I hugged her with a strength I didn't know I had. Her hair smelled of almond soap, and her body trembled with emotion. I thought you wouldn't want to see me anymore, she whispered. Never, my love. Don't you ever think that again. Liam watched us from a few feet away, not knowing what to do with his hands or his guilt. Can we talk? He finally asked. I looked at him squarely. 10 minutes. That's it. We sat on the porch. Vincent discreetly took Ava inside and offered her juice and cookies. Through the window, I saw her telling him something, moving her hands like wings. My granddaughter was happy, and that gave me strength. Liam sat across from me. He shifted restlessly, as if the seat were burning him. I don't know where to start, he said. Then don't start. Just be clear. He swallowed. You're right about everything. I failed you. I allowed things I never should have allowed. I let Jessica humiliate you, make you feel like a burden. And I ignored it. I focused on my job, on my daughter, and I left you on the sidelines. No, you pushed me to the sidelines. There's a difference. He looked down. He seemed defeated. I know I have no excuses, but I'm here because I'm alone, and because only now do I understand what you did for me. For years. And you're only realizing it now? Yes. When I found myself washing dishes, cooking, finding clothes for Ava, taking her to school, and dealing with her crying, I understood. I understood that you did all of that, and I never valued it. Silence. I'm sorry, Mom. I stared at him. He was my son, the one who told me I was his queen when he had a fever and I read him stories. And at the same time, he was the man who allowed his wife to treat me worse than a servant. Both truths coexisted, and they hurt. I don't know if I can forgive you, but I can listen to you. That's a start. We spent the afternoon in the garden. Ava played with Vincent, who was showing her how to plant a small vine. They laughed as if they had known each other their whole lives. Liam watched me in silence. He loves you, doesn't he? Much more than you ever allowed yourself to. And you love him. I'm rediscovering him. But yes, I do. Liam nodded. His pride seemed to dissolve with every word. I don't know if I have the right to ask you this, but Could you watch Ava for a few days? Why? I got a temporary job in another city, just for a few weeks. I have no one to leave her with, and she wants to stay with you. I turned towards my granddaughter. Her eyes were shining with hope. Can I, Grandma? Can I stay with you and Vincent? Vincent appeared then, as if the scene had summoned him. It would be an honor, but only if your grandmother agrees. I sighed. All right, but under my rules, no surprise visits, no intrusions. Liam agreed immediately. Thank you. Thank you, really. Before he left, he turned one last time. I know I have a lot to prove. I just want you to know, I'm willing to undo it. I watched him get in the car and drive away down the dirt road. A part of me felt relief. Another, nostalgia. But none of it felt like guilt. The days with Ava were a comfort. We had breakfast together, walked through the vineyards, baked cookies. Vincent became her silent hero. He told her stories, listened to her without rushing, and taught her to recognize the stars at night. One afternoon, while Ava was drawing on the porch, Vincent hugged me from behind. I never imagined having this, he whispered. This what? Peace. Family. A real life. I turned to look at him. His eyes were moist. Thank you, Caroline, for coming back to me. I didn't come back. I found myself again. And you were there. But calm, as always, comes at a price. One night, while we were having dinner, Ava received a message on her tablet. It's my mom, she said without looking up. She wants to know if I'm okay. She told me something strange. What? That Dad is dating some girl, that now he has someone to leave me with, that maybe he won't need me anymore. Vincent and I exchanged glances. How do you feel about that? I asked her. Sad. But at the same time, I don't want to go back. I'm happy here. I hugged her. You will always have a place here, my love. Always. But something ignited in me. Jessica, that woman couldn't let go of control, not even from a distance. And if Liam was starting to rebuild his life, who was to say he wouldn't repeat his mistakes? That night, I sat at Vincent's desk, took a pen and paper, and wrote a letter. Dear Caroline, for years you let others decide your worth, label you, hide you away. But you are not a shadow, you are light. And though it may flicker sometimes, the light always returns. Never forget who you are. You are starting a new life. And this time, you are not alone. I folded the paper. I put it in a small box with a photo of me and Ava. That would be my reminder, my anchor. 2 days later, Liam returned. He came smiling, with a bouquet of flowers. But something in his eyes alerted me. I have news, he said. Good news. Oh, really? They offered me a permanent position. Good pay, stable. But it requires me to move. To where? To another state, to Oregon. And Ava? He looked down. He hesitated. She can come with me. Or, if you want, you could come too. The proposal hit me like a slap. Are you saying I should leave my life, my home, to go back to living under your wing? Not under my wing. As a family. Together. You can help me with Ava. You can have your own space. It wouldn't be like before. I looked at him for a long time, and then I knew he hadn't changed completely. He still thought I existed to serve, to fill voids, to put out fires he couldn't handle. I stood up. Thank you for the offer, but no. And Ava? She can decide, but I am not going to fade away again. That night, as I was making dinner for Ava, I sat down with her. Your dad wants to move, and he wants to take you. What about you? I am staying, because this is my life now. But you can decide. Ava cried. She hugged me tightly. I want to stay with you. Are you sure? Yes. Here I feel loved. There I feel forgotten. Vincent appeared at that moment, carrying fresh baked bread. Is there room for one more? Ava smiled. And for the first time, I knew it was okay. We had broken the cycle. The morning began with the singing of birds and the aroma of coffee that Vincent was brewing. Ava was still asleep in the room we had decorated together, filled with soft colors and storybooks. It felt like a dream to have built this refuge, this home where love wasn't a debt, but a choice. But dreams, as I knew all too well, could be fragile. Vincent approached with 2 mugs in his hand and an expression that made me frown. "This came for you," he said, handing me a beige envelope with no return address. I took it cautiously. It wasn't unusual for a neighboring winery to send invitations to events or tastings, but upon opening it, I understood it was not that. It was a formal, cold, precise letter. "This is to inform you that Mrs. Jessica Salas has initiated legal action for the full custody of the minor, Ava Salas, alleging unlawful retention, emotional manipulation, and an environment unsuitable for child development." I felt the floor open up beneath me. "What is this?" Vincent asked, worried by my paleness. "Jessica. She's accusing me of kidnapping my own granddaughter." Vincent read the letter, his brow furrowed, his jaw tensed. "It's a dirty move, but I'm not surprised. I knew something like this could happen." "What do I do now?" I asked, feeling, for the first time in weeks, vulnerable. "We call someone. I have a contact, a retired lawyer, but a very good one. His name is Gregory Hayes. I'm going to tell him everything." That same afternoon, Gregory came to the property, a man in his late 60s with a calm voice, firm hands, and a sharp gaze. He listened to my story without interrupting. He took notes, observed, analyzed every detail. "They have a child in common, but the mother is using the system to manipulate the situation," he said at the end. "This won't be easy, but we have a response." "Can she take Ava from me?" I asked, my voice breaking. Gregory took a deep breath. "Only if Ava wants to go with her, or if she proves you're unfit. But from what I see, there's nothing here to indicate danger. On the contrary, Jessica can lie she has before, and we are going to tell the truth, and we are going to prove it." I felt supported. For the first time, someone was talking to me about justice, not resignation. That night, the three of us had dinner together. Ava sensed something different in the air. "Did something happen?" she asked, poking at her noodles with a fork. I looked her in the eyes. I didn't want to lie to her, but I also didn't want to burden her with anxieties that weren't hers to bear. "Your mom wants to see you, and she's a little upset that you didn't go back with her." Ava looked down. "Is she mad because I want to stay with you? Maybe, but it's not your fault. You have the right to choose where you feel happy." She got up, hugged me tight, and whispered, "I don't want them to take me away from here," and my heart broke. Vincent put her to bed. When he returned, he found me on the porch, smoking a cigarette after years of not doing so. "I don't want to lose everything again," I told him. "You're not going to lose anything. You have someone backing you up now, and you're not alone, Caroline. This time, we're going to fight together." The days passed, and more documents arrived. Jessica hired an aggressive lawyer, the kind that smells fear. The accusations were cruel: manipulation, parental alienation, even negligence. Gregory prepared a flawless defense: photos, testimonies, school reports. But most importantly, he requested something key: that Ava be allowed to speak with an independent child psychologist. She would be heard. And that could change everything. Liam, for his part, seemed caught in the middle. He sent me a short text. "I don't agree with what Jessica is doing, but I don't want any more fights either. I hope we can resolve this without hurting Ava." I ignored it. I no longer had space in me for the lukewarm. Days later, the gate buzzed. Vincent looked at the camera and frowned. "It's Jessica." "What?" "She's alone, and she looks like a dethroned queen." I smoothed my hair. I looked in the mirror. It wasn't for her, it was for me. I wanted her to see me strong, whole. I went out to meet her. Jessica got out of a late-model car, wearing dark glasses and a perfume that invaded everything around her. She carried an envelope in her hand and a fake smile. "Caroline," she said as if we were old friends. "So good to see you looking so well. What do you want?" "I'm here to give you a chance to resolve this like adults, like civilized women." "Civilized? You're accusing me of kidnapping my granddaughter." "I'm defending my daughter. You are not her mother. You are legally no one. You can play the nice grandma for a few days, but Ava is coming back with me, whether you like it or not. Ava has already chosen. And that's eating you up, isn't it?" Jessica stepped closer, lowering her voice. "You're a lonely old woman. A burden. This property is going to fall apart. And when Vincent gets tired of playing happy family, you'll be left with nothing. Ava does not belong to you, and I swear on my life I will take her, even if I have to destroy you in the process. Her gaze was pure venom. Are you finished? I asked without blinking. We'll see you in court. She smiled and left. That night I cried in silence, in the kitchen, my hands trembling, not from fear, but from fury. How had she dared so much? How was it possible that they had dismissed me, forgotten me, and now accused me of holding on to love by force? Vincent found me there, tears falling onto the counter. You can't let her win. Not again, he said, holding my face. I don't want to fight. I want to live. Then we will fight to live. There is no other way, and he was right. The following days were a whirlwind of hearings, visits from social workers, psychological interviews. Ava responded with unexpected maturity. She stated firmly that she felt cared for, loved, and respected in our home. That in her old house, no one listened to her. That her mother was always absent or in a bad mood. The psychologist wrote a report. It was clear. The minor expresses a strong affective bond with her grandmother, Caroline Salas, with whom she states she feels protected, understood, and happy. No emotional manipulation is detected. It is recommended to preserve the stability of the current environment. When Gregory read it to me, I couldn't help but cry. It was the first time a legal document said something I already knew. Ava wasn't being held. She was safe. Days later, we were called to the courthouse. Jessica arrived impeccably, with her lawyer and her marble mask. I arrived with Gregory, Vincent, and a racing heart. Ava did not attend, on the judge's recommendation. The judge read the reports, listened to the lawyers. The tension was palpable. Mrs. Jessica Salas, he said finally, we find no reason to remove shared custody or to doubt the suitability of Mrs. Caroline Salas as a temporary guardian. The minor has clearly expressed her wishes. Therefore, custody will remain as it is, and a schedule of supervised visits will be established for you. Jessica gritted her teeth. Her lawyer put a hand on her arm as if to calm her. This isn't over, she told me as she passed. You have no idea what I'm capable of. I looked at her with a peace she couldn't understand. Yes, I do. That's why I'm not afraid of you. That night, we made a special dinner. Vincent cooked his famous meatloaf. Ava made an impromptu cake with frosting and cookies. We laughed as if we had defeated a dragon, and in a way we had. After putting Ava to bed, Vincent and I sat on the porch. You were a lioness today, he said. Today, I felt alive. For the first time in a long time. He took my hand. He kissed my fingers. I love you, Caroline, just as you are. And with you, I want everything. I looked at him. My chest filled with something new. Not gratitude, not dependence. Love, free, chosen. I never thought love could feel this way after so many years, after so many wounds. With Vincent, it wasn't just companionship. It was freedom. It was knowing that someone looked at me and truly saw me. For weeks, we lived in a tense calm. Jessica's threat seemed to have vanished after her loss in court. But inside, I knew she hadn't given up. That woman didn't know defeat. She only knew how to hide and attack again. And that attack came soon. It started with small signs. One day, the principal of Ava's school called me. Mrs. Salas, she said in a worried tone. We received a request to change the legal guardian. It says you are no longer authorized to pick up Ava. What? The request was signed by Jessica Salas. But it has no judicial backing. Of course, we won't allow it, but I'm letting you know. Because it's serious. I hung up, my hands trembling. I sat on the edge of the bed, feeling completely unprotected. Seeing me like this, Vincent knelt in front of me. Her again? I nodded. She's trying to push me out of the picture. Out of Ava's life. Slowly. From behind. She won't succeed. But we'll have to be vigilant. That night, I spoke with Gregory. He confirmed my suspicions. Jessica was appealing the verdict. But not only that, she had filed false reports for psychological abuse and social isolation. The worst part? She had hired a private investigator to follow me. There were photos, videos, even screenshots of my social media. "This is no longer just a legal matter," Gregory said. "It's a personal attack. She wants to destroy you. And can I do anything?" "Yes, we can counterattack. But we have to go all in." I sighed. I looked out the window. Ava was playing with Vincent in the garden, blowing soap bubbles. Her laughter was so pure it hurt to imagine it being silenced by her mother's shadow. "Then we'll fight," I said. "For her. For me." Gregory nodded. "And this time, we're going to expose her." The following days were a whirlwind. We gathered evidence of everything. Calls, audio recordings, messages. Jessica had threatened to kick me out if necessary. She had yelled at Ava over the phone, telling her not to be ungrateful. She had even lied about her job, declaring false income to avoid child support. Gregory prepared a lawsuit for defamation, malicious prosecution, and emotional distress. But just when we felt we had control, something happened that left me frozen. One night, Ava didn't come home from school. The teacher assured us her mother had picked her up for a scheduled visit. But that visit was not authorized. I panicked. I called the school, Gregory, Vincent. No one knew anything. I dialed Jessica's number. It went to voicemail. It was 3 hours of hell, until I received a text message. "Ava is fine. She just needed to be with her mother. I'll let you know when I'll bring her back." It didn't say where they were or when she would return, just that. Vincent held me tight as I trembled like a leaf. We called the police. We filed a report. I didn't sleep that night. I just cried. I felt like my soul was being torn from my body. The next morning, Jessica appeared at the property with Ava in hand. The girl's eyes were swollen from crying. "Here she is," she said cynically. "She's fine. She just needed to be with me. You're not her mother, Caroline. You can't forbid me from seeing her. You didn't have permission. That was kidnapping." "Oh, please." Dramatic as always. "Look at her. She's alive, isn't she?" Ava pulled away from her hand and ran to me. "Grandma!" I hugged her with all my might. I had never felt so much relief. "We are going to see this through to the end," I told Jessica, my voice trembling but firm. "Do it. We'll see who's left standing in the end." And she left. Gregory activated the entire legal system. He requested a temporary restraining order. The judge granted it. Jessica couldn't come within 100 yards without a court order, but that only enraged her more. A week later, someone smashed the windows of Vincent's car. Days later, we found animal feces at the entrance of the property. One morning, we heard a crash. Someone had thrown rocks onto the roof. Ava woke up screaming. Vincent went out with a baseball bat. He found no one. We reported everything, but the authorities said the usual. Without proof, there's not much we can do. I wasn't sleeping anymore. I lived in constant alert. Vincent proposed something radical. "Caroline, let's move." "What?" "I have a house in Mendocino, more remote. We could start over there, without the weight of this madness." "And abandon this?" "It's not giving up. It's protecting yourself. And protecting Ava." I thought about it for days. But every corner of this property held history. Every tree, every tile was part of my identity. I couldn't let Jessica steal that from me too. No. If I leave, she wins. I won't allow it. Vincent nodded. He didn't pressure me. But I understood that the exhaustion was getting to him too. One afternoon, while shopping in town, a woman approached me in the supermarket line. "You're Ava's grandmother, aren't you?" "Yes. I heard your daughter-in-law sued you for abuse. They say the girl isn't going to school." "It's true." I felt a pit in my stomach. "That's a lie." "Well, you know how people are. There are some who shouldn't be raising children." I left without buying anything. The smear campaign had begun. Neighbors looked at me with suspicion. Some withdrew their invitations. Others stopped greeting me. They were isolating me, and that hurt more than Jessica's insults. One night, after putting Ava to bed, I went out to the garden. I looked at the sky, searching for answers. "Why is this happening to me?" I murmured into the air. "I just wanted to take care of my granddaughter, to love without fear. Is that too much to ask?" Vincent came out, and hugged me from behind. You're not alone. Even if the world screams otherwise, I'm with you. What if she doesn't stop? What if she keeps going until she breaks us? Then we will resist. To our last breath. A few days later, we received the final summons. Jessica had managed to get an emergency hearing. She was going to present new evidence to request sole and permanent custody. It was her final blow. The trial would be in a week, and I had to prepare. Gregory gave me some advice. Don't just tell your version. Show your life. Show who you are. Let the judge see you're not a threat. You're a support. That night, I wrote a letter. I didn't know if I would read it, but it helped me organize my soul. My name is Caroline Salas. I am 66 years old. I am not perfect. I have made mistakes, but I would never stop loving someone who needs me. I am not fighting out of pride. I am fighting for a bond that life gave me and that I will not surrender to anyone's whim. I put the letter in my purse and decided it would be my shield. Ava, upon learning of the trial, got scared. Am I going to have to leave? No, my love. This time, we're going to win. And what if we don't? I looked at her with a broken heart. Then we'll leave together, wherever, but together. She smiled. She hugged me. You're my home, Grandma. And that sentence was worth more than 1,000 verdicts. The day of the trial arrived with an impossible mix of emotions. Fear, hope, rage, and something deeper I couldn't name, maybe courage, or maybe just exhaustion. I dressed soberly. I combed my hair carefully, and before leaving, I hugged Ava with all my might. I love you, Grandma, she said, looking at me with those enormous eyes. I love you more, my queen. Whatever happens, nothing will ever separate us. You know that? She nodded, with silent tears. Vincent held my hand all the way to the car. Gregory was waiting for us at the courthouse doors. Today, we're not just going to defend you, he said. We're going to show who Jessica really island. We entered the courtroom. There she was, impeccable in a tight black dress, her hair pulled back, perfect makeup, a mask. She looked at us as if we were insects. I took a deep breath. I would not break. The judge, an older man with a severe expression, began the hearing. We are here to resolve the appeal filed by Mrs. Jessica Salas, who requests sole custody of her daughter, Ava, and the revocation of the provisional custody granted to Mrs. Caroline Salas. Everything was on the line. Jessica spoke first. Your Honor, my mother-in-law has emotionally manipulated my daughter. She has alienated her from me. She has interfered with her development, preventing contact with my side of the family. And she has created a figure of authority that does not belong to her. Ava needs a mother, not an obsessive and possessive grandmother. The words hurt. But what hurt more was that she said them with a trembling voice, as if she truly believed she was right. She presented videos taken out of context. One where Ava told me she didn't want to see her mother. Another where I called her my baby. Gregory stood up. With all due respect, those clips show nothing illegal or inappropriate. Showing affection or respecting the wishes of a child who is in distress at the sight of her mother does not constitute alienation. The judge nodded, without passing judgment. Then Gregory counterattacked. He called Ava's teacher to the stand. She testified that the child had often arrived in tears after visits with her mother, that she had shown fear, and that she once said, "My mom yells at me if I talk about my grandma." Jessica denied everything, feigning indignation. Then, a neighbor who had heard Jessica shouting when she came to pick up the girl took the stand. A brave, elderly woman. "It's not fair," she said. "Caroline has raised that child with love. That girl, the mother, only shows up to cause trouble." Next, Gregory asked for Ava's testimony, recorded by the court's psychologist, to be played. The courtroom fell silent. My grandma takes care of me. She reads me stories. She hugs me when I'm scared. With my mom, I get scared. I don't want to live with her. The words were soft, but their impact was brutal. Jessica turned pale. Gregory closed with force. We do not ask that her right to be a mother be taken away, but we do ask that the minor's well-being be prioritized, and that well-being is, without a doubt, with Caroline. Finally, the judge allowed me to speak. I stood up, letter in hand. Your Honor, I did not come here to fight out of pride. I came because I could not stand by while a child was being torn from her only safe haven. I read the entire letter. Every word came from the depths of my soul. I am not perfect, but I have given everything for Ava. I have protected her with my body, my time, and my love. I do not ask for recognition. I only ask that I be allowed to continue caring for her, as she needs, as I need. When I finished, the judge looked down. The room was silent. He sighed, paused for a long moment, and then spoke. This court rules that the provisional custody granted to Mrs. Caroline Salas is upheld and is now made permanent. The biological mother will maintain a regimen of supervised visits and must begin a therapeutic process before requesting any future modifications. I felt the world stop. Vincent squeezed my hand. Gregory smiled. And Jessica. Jessica remained motionless, as if she couldn't comprehend what had just happened. The judge added, "This court also recommends that the plaintiff refrain from filing baseless legal actions or smear campaigns, under penalty of more severe sanctions." We had won. Outside the courthouse, Ava was waiting for me with Vincent. When she saw me, she ran towards me with an immense smile. "Can we go now?" "Yes, my love. We're free now." I hugged her. I felt her heart beating against mine, and I knew that, no matter what, nothing could break that bond. Jessica came out minutes later. She looked at me with pure hatred. "Enjoy your victory. It won't last." "It's not a victory," I said calmly. "It's justice. This isn't over, you ridiculous old woman. It's already over, even if you can't accept it." She turned and walked away, her steps furious. I watched her disappear into the crowd. For the first time, I didn't feel fear. I felt pity, because she had lost everything out of pride, and she didn't know how to love. The following days were a tense calm. I kept looking over my shoulder, but Vincent convinced me to install cameras on the property. We also hired an additional lawyer for any eventuality. Slowly, the community began to approach me again. Some apologized. Others just remained silent, ashamed. But I held no grudges. I just wanted to move on. Ava returned to her classes with joy. She started drawing again, singing, playing without fear. I started smiling again, too. Vincent and I shared long afternoons in the garden. We talked about life, the future, the love that had arrived when we least expected it. One afternoon, as we watched the sunset, he took my hand. "I love you, Caroline, and I love you. Will you marry me?" I looked at him, incredulous. "Are you crazy?" "Yes. For you?" We laughed. And I cried. I said yes. The wedding was intimate. Just a few friends, Gregory, and of course Ava, who carried the rings and cried with emotion. I never imagined wearing white again. But I did, not for tradition, but as a symbol of rebirth. Inside me, there was no rubble left, only the seeds of something new. A few months later, a black SUV pulled up in front of the property. Ava and I were planting flowers. Vincent was reading the paper on the porch. A man in a suit got out of the vehicle. "Mrs. Caroline Salas?" "Yes. I'm from Horizon Press. We have a proposal for you." "A publisher?" "We read your letter. The judge shared it with us in a legal forum. We were deeply moved. We would like to publish it and, if you are willing, accompany it with your full story." I was speechless. "My story?" "Yes. We believe many women need to read it. To see that it's possible to resist, that they are not alone." Ava squeezed me hand. Vincent came over, smiling. "What are you going to tell him?" "Yes," I said, "because I'm no longer afraid to tell my story." I accepted the publisher's proposal without knowing exactly what I was getting into. I had never written anything longer than a grocery list. But when I sat down in front of the blank notebook, the words began to flow on their own, as if they had been waiting for years for their turn to breathe. The first sentence I wrote was, "My name is Caroline Salas. They told me I was old, that I was a burden, that I should be quiet. But one day, I decided to stand up. For weeks, I dedicated every morning to writing, remembering, crying, and healing. The pain transformed into paragraphs, the rage into chapters, the loneliness into a voice. Gregory helped me organize the facts. Vincent corrected my spelling mistakes with infinite patience. Ava would sometimes sit beside me and say, "Are you telling the part where you saved me, Grandma?" "Yes, my love, but I'm also telling the part where you saved me." The book was published 6 months later with a title that left no room for doubt: If You Don't Want to Go to a Nursing Home, Stand Up. The cover showed a silhouette from behind with a suitcase in hand, standing before an open gate. I didn't expect it to sell much. I thought a few women in a neighborhood library might read it, but the unexpected happened. It went viral. Social media was flooded with quotes from the book. Women of all ages began to share their stories. Some wrote me letters. Others sent me tearful audio messages. One even came from another state just to give me a hug. "Your story made me go back home," she told me. "It made me apologize to my mom. It made me understand everything I didn't want to see." I couldn't believe it. One day, a television host called to invite me onto her interview show. "We want you to come and tell your story live. It's inspiring. You're changing lives." I hesitated. I didn't like the exposure. But Gregory insisted. "You have to go, Caroline. Not for you. For all the women who are still silent." I went. I entered the studio trembling. The lights, the cameras, the microphones. It all seemed overwhelming. But when the host greeted me with warmth, something inside me calmed down. "Caroline," she said, "thousands of women are watching this. What would you say to those who are going through what you went through?" I thought for a few seconds, and then I answered, "That they should not believe they are alone, that they should not listen to those who tell them it's too late, that they no longer have value, because there is always a day to start anew. Whether you are 60, 70, or 80 years old, it is never too late to stand up." The ovation was immediate, and it wasn't for me, it was for all of them. After the show, life changed. I was invited to give talks at community centers. I was interviewed on the radio. A university even asked me to speak at a conference on the rights of older adults. But I remained the same. I still got up early to make breakfast for Ava. I still tended to my garden, watered the plants. I still sat with Vincent to watch the sunset. One day, while we were having coffee on the porch, he looked at me and said, "Do you realize what you've done?" "What's that?" "You've turned humiliation into dignity, sadness into strength. That's not something just anyone can do, Caroline." "I only did what any mother or grandmother would do," I replied. "Defend those she loves." "Yes, but you also defended yourself, and that is much harder." Jessica stayed away. She complied with the supervised visits, with distance and coldness. Ava, little by little, began to speak to her without fear. I never spoke ill of her mother, ever, because I understood something profound. You don't win by hating, you win by loving more fiercely. One day, Ava asked me, "Did you forgive her, Grandma?" I was quiet for a moment. "I don't know if I've forgiven her, but I don't hate her anymore." "Is that the same thing?" "No. It's more than enough." Years later, the book was adapted into a play. I was invited to the premiere. The curtain rose, and I saw an actress with white hair playing me, with the same suitcase in her hand, with the same tremor in her voice. Hearing my own words from another body made me cry. Vincent squeezed my hand. Ava, now a teenager, hugged me. "That's you, Grandma, the bravest of all." The play ended with the actress opening the gate and getting into an imaginary car. The audience gave a standing ovation. It was then that I understood. My story was no longer just mine. The final recognition came when I was awarded a Citizens Merit Award. In his speech, the mayor said, "Today we honor a woman who taught us that old age is not synonymous with uselessness, that motherhood has no age, and that love is more powerful than any verdict." I approached the microphone. I was no longer trembling. "Thank you for this recognition, but I want to say one more thing. When my son told me, 'If you don't want to go to a nursing home, get a job,' he didn't know he was giving me a gift, because sometimes what seems like the end is just the beginning." The people applauded, but I looked up at the sky, and I thought of Arthur. How I wished he could see me now. Free, alive, reborn. Today, looking back, I don't see a tragedy. I see a story of transformation. Ava grew up surrounded by love. She chose to study psychology. She says she wants to help other girls like her. Vincent and I continue to walk together, growing old hand in hand, laughing at our wrinkles and our clumsiness. My house is filled with books, flowers, and visitors. Many women come to tell me their stories. Some bring me casseroles. Others just need to talk. I listen to them. Always. And every time they ask me how it all began, I tell them the same thing. With a sentence. A humiliation. But also with a smile. With a suitcase. And with a car that arrived just in time. Because it wasn't the luxury. It wasn't the new husband. It wasn't the book. It was choosing not to fade away. Not to give up. Not to believe what others say you are. Because the fire we have inside is not extinguished by contempt. It is ignited by determination. And if anyone ever tells you that you're old, that you're useless, that you're a burden, remember this. You are not what others say. You are what you decide to be. And if they tell you, if you don't want to go to a nursing home, get a job, smile, stand up, open the gate. Because maybe, right there, your new life is waiting for you. They say that when one door closes, another one opens. But what no one tells you is that, sometimes, you have to have the courage to walk through it alone, with your back straight, with the suitcase trembling in your hand, with your soul shattered into pieces, but ready to reassemble. I walked through that door, and on the other side, there were no easy promises. There was no immediate comfort. What I found was uncertainty, silence, and a freedom that scared me. Because yes, freedom is also scary when you're not used to choosing for yourself. But I chose. With every step, with every tear, with every written word, I chose to rebuild myself. I chose to listen to my voice, the one I had silenced for decades. Today, I live in a modest but warm house, with windows that let in the light in a way it never did before. Ava is no longer a child. She is a brilliant, sensitive young woman, with that mix of tenderness and strength that only well-healed scars can leave. Vincent is growing old with me. His presence is a refuge, not a life raft. I don't need him to save me, just to walk with me. And he does, every day, with a quiet smile and a silence that says more than 1,000 speeches. Our routine is simple. We have breakfast looking out at the garden. Ava sometimes joins us with her cup of tea, and we talk about simple things, books, flowers, dreams. But sometimes, between sips of coffee, the conversation turns deeper. "Grandma," she said one morning, "do you regret everything that happened?" I thought about saying yes, that I wished I had never suffered, that I wished my son hadn't betrayed me, that I wished Arthur were still alive. But to lie to her would be to rob her of the truth. No, my love, I don't regret it, because if all of that hadn't happened, I wouldn't be who I am today, and you might not be here with me. She smiled. She hugged me, without another word, because she understood. Over the years, I've learned that life isn't a straight line. It's a spiral. Sometimes you go up, sometimes you go down. Sometimes it feels like you're in the same place, but you are not the same. I am not the same woman who trembled when she heard her son shout, nor the one who bowed her head when her daughter-in-law humiliated her, nor the one who thought she no longer had a place in the world. Now, I am the woman who writes, who hugs, who listens, who guides. I am the grandmother who receives letters from other grandmothers, from mothers, from daughters, women who tell me, "Thank you for telling your story. You gave me courage." And I answer them, "The courage was already in you. You just needed someone to remind you." Sometimes I wonder what happened to Liam. I heard through the grapevine that he divorced Jessica, that he lives alone in a small apartment, that he has no relationship with Ava. I don't hate him. I don't wish him ill. But I don't feel pity either. Sometimes the harshest punishment isn't prison or rejection. It's having to live with the knowledge of what you did. I forgave him. Not for him, for me. Because I didn't want to carry that weight. Because I understood that letting go isn't giving up. It's setting yourself free. And that's what I did. I also learned to say no. No to demands that disrespect me. No to commitments that take away my peace. No to roles that are imposed on me. No to returning to what has already hurt me. Saying no is also an act of self-love. But more than anything, I learned to say yes. Yes to tenderness. Yes to starting over. Yes to trusting, even after being let down. Yes to crazy projects. Yes to love in old age. Yes to me. One day, while going through old boxes, I found a letter Arthur had written to me years before he died. I had completely forgotten about it. It was in his hurried handwriting, his way of speaking to me without beating around the bush. It said, "Caroline, if you ever feel alone, don't look outside. Look in the mirror. There you will find the bravest woman I ever knew." I cried like a child, not from sadness, from gratitude, because I understood that, even before I knew it myself, he already saw in me the strength that now blossoms. Sometimes, older women are invisible to the world, as if we no longer have anything to say, to contribute, to live. But that's a lie. We are living libraries. We are roots. We are history and future. They made us believe that after a certain age, all that's left is to wait. But I say the opposite. After a certain age is when you see everything most clearly, when you no longer need to prove anything, when the only thing that matters is to live with truth. Once, at a talk I gave at a university, a student asked me, "What does dignity mean to you?" I smiled at her and answered, "It's being able to look at yourself in the mirror without looking away. It's not needing anyone's approval to know your own worth. It's choosing yourself every day, even if no one else does." She fell silent. She nodded, and I knew she had understood. If I had to leave one message for every woman who hears my story, it would be this: don't wait for someone else to rescue you. Don't wait for them to value you, to value yourself. Don't wait for them to applaud you to stand up. Do it anyway. Do it trembling. Do it scared. But do it. Because sometimes life begins at the exact moment you decide not to be the victim, but the author of your own story. And if one day you have to pack your suitcase, don't see it as an ending. It's merely the prologue to everything you're about to write next. My name is Caroline Salas. They told me my story was over, and I showed them it was just beginning.